Hi,
No
MJ.
problem.
I am
I
very
know this.
excited to speak with you today. Not only have you had your own NDE, but you actually are a host of The Return, where you interview other people doing the same. So today you're on the hot seat, and I am very excited to hear your story. So if you could just take us back to what happened with you, because obviously there's some kind of synergy, otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Well, my story began, if I just go back a little bit to give you a kind of a synopsis who I am. I started to see spirits around 3 years old. Now I can confirm that for myself, but before then, my mother said that I was always playing with people and playing with my dead uncles and my dead aunts, if you can believe it. She said I would be picking up the phone, even talking to them, and I'd hand her and say, "Oh, uncle's on the phone for you," and she'd be like, "The phone didn't ring. Who is she talking to?" So my connection with spirit did start quite early. And as I say that, I do believe that everyone's starts there. Some maybe just don't remember. Not that I'm any more special than anyone else. Um, and then it kind of, so when I was three, I'd have visitations from spirit. They would never cross into my bedroom, but they would stay at the door. They were, they looked real, but they looked real, but they're very translucent, kind of like a glowing of, like, so if I was a little girl thinking, who was that? I would just obviously think that it was just another child because it was always children coming. Um, but then they'd be like, come play. And then other people would come in the background and I'd be like, no, I'm scared. So I would get under, crawl to my parents' room, and I would wake up there. My mom never knew anything about it, but she does. She's like, wow, I didn't know why you were waking up. And I would see, or why she would wake up and she would see me sleeping on the floor every night on the side of her bed. And then it just kind of graduated, or kind of gradually increased from there, where I then start to see orbs. Orbs would, like, well, one particular orb would come to me, and the orb was orange. And my family background was quite, it wasn't very good. So there was a lot of abuse, physical, mental abuse. And this orb came at this one time where I was taking off my nightie. And my dad, like, you would get a beating basically if you didn't wear all your clothes. Like, you needed to be dressed head to toe. So I had taken off my nightie and I was in my room, and this orb, it flew in the window. It was a closed window. It flew in my window. And then it went over my head and it went right above me in front of my wall. And it stayed there. And I was just standing there looking up at it. And it was orange, and it was it's so hard to describe. I always try to find words for this. Um, so it's like fire kind of moving, almost literally like lava. And then it just said to me, you need to put the clothes back on. Basically, you're gonna get in trouble. And I knew that, and I put the clothes back on. So, but I didn't think anything of it at that time. I just was like, what is this? And it did not talk as in talking with a mouth. It had no mouth. It literally talked to my mind. I jumped down in my bed. That's fine. Everything went on from there. I thought, ooh, that is strange. But what I did just find out was a couple of weeks back, we had a family gathering. I showed my brother my video, and he said, "Oh, that's so strange." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Don't you remember seeing the UFOs?" And my mom's like, "Yeah. She used to make me put glasses on to look at them." So I just found this out, and I thought, well, isn't that something? Because there was UFOs and orbs. So very interesting. And yeah, so it goes from there. I go into my teens, I didn't really have anything from about 4 to about 16. Now, in that time, family was very, very, very rough. So I understand that I probably shut it out and closed down. Um, yeah, basically we were hiding. So a lot of the time. So I don't remember anything in that time. I think there was just too much stress going on. However, when I was 16, it started again when I was at a friend's and I was leaving. I was driving. I fell asleep at the wheel, and a very loud voice yelled my name to wake me up. I woke up and I had crossed the lane and I was going head on with another vehicle. Now, if that voice did not scream my name so loudly, I would never have woken up. I would have That was like another near death, but not near death, same, but different. I woke up and I was like, oh, wow, but who was that? Like, I was just always questioning, like, who was that voice? Like, and it was loud. And I can tell you that it's not female and it's almost not male. So it's not female, it's not male. Then so I kind of just like would think about these things my entire life, thinking that I was kind of different from people. I also noticed that I was able to really feel people out. So even at 16, I could feel people's energy. Also, like say when you're young, you go to parties, and I would just be like, I'm not interested in that. I'll drive you there, but I just didn't like the energy of the people. It was very strange how I would say, be somewhere and be watching and really honing in on these energy of people. Like, no, I didn't see anything, but I just noticed. As a young person, you don't sit around noticing things like that. You're just like, yay, we're having fun, you know? And then it kind of stayed with me until around, I was 17 when I gave birth to my son. And I was pregnant. I was in labor. I went into the hospital. And this is just basically a quick cold notes on kind of where I was prior to my NDE. And when I was giving birth to my son, um, everybody had left the room. I was going into a contraction, and I heard a voice say, I'm coming. Not long now. And it came in on this side, so on my right side. And I literally was just like looking around and I was like, hello? Because I didn't know who that was and I knew no one was in the room. And then within about 30 minutes, my son was born. So he was on his way. And I truly believe it was him just letting me know. I think that he saw that I was going through a hard time and I was in pain, and he decided it's really time now. So he decided, I'm going to let her know I'm on my way. And he did. Like, and it was a very unique experience and one that I can never forget. So all of these experiences I have never been able to forget. So I might lose my keys or forget where I put something, but these things were so profound that I can't forget them. They're just honed into me, and I do believe they were all for a bigger reason. So then I know I'm jumpy. So um, I'm kind of going in order. So basically, from the time I heard my son's voice, I then jumped to around 18 years old when I started to see the onset of someone dying. So that was really scary. So that was a gift that started to come, if you want to call it a gift. I don't know and can't tell you what the gift is for. I'm not sure yet, even to this day. But what happened is I was going to see a friend. She was my best friend. She lived with me. She worked in a nightclub. Um, I had a feeling to go see her. So I went there and I came up the back stairs, and I was she was across the nightclub, putting glasses on a dishwasher. And I looked at her and I stood there for a minute. And so what I see is it's like the spirit is detaching from the body, and it goes in and then it goes out again, and then it goes in and it goes out. It's almost like um sorry, something was just right there. That's so strange. Anyways, so I see that and I can't explain what it looks like, but it looks different. But what I can say is that immediately, even not knowing, it triggers and says she is going to die. So that's exactly what it does. Even in my human form that has never seen this before, this time, I still knew she was going to die. And so I went over to her. I pretty much begged her. I asked her what she was doing. I begged her not to go. She was driving to a place about 3 hours away from where we lived after work, which was about 3 a.m. in the morning. And I begged her, and she just said, "Oh my gosh, you got to stop." And I'm like, "Okay." So I'll just leave her alone and let them be. But I had such a feeling inside myself, it just wasn't right. She shouldn't go. And she did, in fact, die that evening. She died around 4 o'clock in the morning with a head-on collision with a semi. So that was my first confirmation, almost what I call like a God nod, almost. I don't know what to call it, but that then got stronger and kept happening. So it didn't matter if I was near someone or away from them. It was still coming through. So the next one was my father-in-law. I was around 20 years old. I was getting gifts for him from under the tree. I looked up at him and it started morphing out of his body. It just started coming out. I remember thinking, oh gosh, I know this feeling, right? I know this. I know what that means. And I know immediately it's like an inner voice comes and it tells you immediately that the person's going to die. And I don't know the name of it. Like it's like I'm a witness. I don't know, like a witness to the detaching of the soul from the body. Um, so it's very interesting that happens. That's happened many, many times to me. The next big one was my father, my ex and my children's father. So, but I happened to be somewhere away from him. But I spent 17 years with him. Um, and so we had a really close bond plus children. And I think this is the key is the bond that you have with someone that you can see, or that you can feel what's going on with them. But I wasn't with him at the time. He was over in Mexico. I was in, British Columbia, Canada. And, a whole week before, started to feel weird to the point where I literally felt like him. Like there was often times when I was like, why do I feel like him? I felt like him. It was very strange. And then I got a message from him 3 days before that said, don't forget about me. And I didn't say anything back because we didn't part on good terms. And I just was like, oh, I don't want to open this up for another verbal, licking. And I just didn't feel like it. So I do now wish that I had have said not something in hindsight. But if I had have been near him, I probably would have seen. But now knowing what was happening to me prior, it was all the signs. I just couldn't see him. So then the day we were leaving on vacation, which was only like probably 2 days from those feelings, so a week and then 2 days left to go, I got the feeling. So I got this odd feeling come over me. I couldn't shake it. I said to my husband, something's happening, someone's going to die. And he's like, "Oh, please, that's not a good thing to be saying." I said, "I know, but I can feel it. I can't see anybody." So I was looking at my children, looking at my husband, looking at everybody around me, but I couldn't see I couldn't see them. So my mom lived far away. My brother did as well. So I wasn't close to someone. I didn't even think about my ex. Um, but I could feel it come over my whole entire body. Next thing you know, long story short, he ended up dying a week later. So he was the one that passed away. And yeah, and then the next one was with my stepdad. Same thing happened. Just February of this year, I woke up straight in bed. I woke up my husband. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Something's happening. I have a feeling coming over me. Somebody is going to die. He's like, oh God, who is it me? I'm like, no, it's not you. But he's always scared. He's like, oh my goodness, right? But I said, no, it's not you and it's not anybody I can see. So I can feel them. They're having a problem. And it happened to be my stepdad, and he died that next morning. So at that time at night, I was feeling exactly what he was going through. So he ended up having a heart attack. Yeah, and I was afraid to go to sleep. I was having the heart palpitations. I couldn't breathe. My body felt dreadful. This dread, like just almost like I was scared. And to be very honest, I thought it was me for a second. I thought, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die, but I wasn't sure. But, anyways, so that's kind of a run up, cold notes of what my life has been like up until 2017. So in 2017 is when I had my NDE. And my NDE isn't normal. It's not like anybody else's NDE. I didn't have a life review. I didn't have that. But I will tell you from the beginning that I was just sitting on the couch at someone's house. There was a birthday party going on. I then started to get the onset of heart palpitations, strong and hard. I started to sweat profusely. I was like, breathing was a little bit labored, but I could breathe. I then was like, okay, I started to get some mental stuff where I felt a little confused. I said to my friend, I said, can I go up and lie down? I'm really not feeling well. And I also had an incredible urge to fall, like kind of lean to the left. I have no idea what that means, but I had an incredible urge to lean this way. But so I went up, lied down. That didn't work. It made things worse. I came down. I said to my husband, honey, I'm not well. We either call an ambulance or we take a cab, but we got to go now because something is wrong. And my heart was going. I checked on my phone. It was over 170 beats a minute. And I literally was resting. I didn't have, I think I had one drink. I had a dinner. So there wasn't anything, like nothing to cause it. And I've never had anything like this prior to. So we get to the hospital, and that urge, everything starts getting worse. It almost feels like it's getting faster and faster. I'm sweating to the point where my shoes will not stay on my feet. That's how sweating I was. And the lady's like, okay, there's something seriously wrong. They took my vitals, they took everything. They then whisked me into the back. My heart rate was now over 250. And they hooked me up to everything. And I was saying, like, what is happening? What is happening? And they said, oh, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. And I'm thinking, but I am so not okay. And meanwhile, my husband, who, of course, he was drinking, poor, I felt bad because, like, I don't feel like bad, but he was a little bit drunk. We were at a party, and then he had to be taken away. Well, he's standing beside me and he's saying, oh, that can't be good. That can't be good. Is her heart supposed to be going that high? And I'm like, oh my God, he's causing me so much stress that it's not even funny. And so then he's asked to leave. So now I'm alone in there, and I was afraid. I was, have you ever tasted fear? Like, I knew, I think it's a knowing something's going to happen to you. Like, I knew something was happening to me. My son, who is also psychic abilities in a different way. He has them similar to me. He knew something was happening to me. So he was texting me, and all I could think about was, oh no, my boys, because I have two grown boys. And I was so upset. I was thinking, I can't leave them. I'm going to be alone. So I said to him, I'm okay. I'm okay. He goes, I know I can feel your heart's beating. You're having anxiety. I said, I am, honey, I'm in the hospital. It's okay. I'm going to be okay. That ended. A nurse came out of the blue. I tried to grab for one nurse. She shook me off, like, don't you dare touch me. And I was in a place where I was very scared and I had no one. I was by myself. And this nurse, when she did that, it made me feel like, kind of, I don't know, it just how she looked at me, like, don't touch me. And she totally turned herself away from me. And it was very unloving and unkind, So, but then out of the blue comes this woman who pulls up a chair, sits right down beside me, grabs my arm and wraps hers in mine. And she's got long curly brown hair. I've never seen her again, by the way. And she said to me, you're okay. You're not alone and you're never going to be alone. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And I thought, okay, but I feel like I'm dying. And I just started to weep. And then they came to me and told me, listen, this is what's happening. And so, after that woman did that, I looked up and I seen a half circle of doctors standing a foot of my bed. And I'm like, okay, so I work in a hospital, or I worked in a hospital. I knew what they were waiting for. They were waiting for me to have a heart attack and to code. They were standing there, literally just hands on hip, staring at me while I was going through this anguish. And I just was like, wow, that is so strange that, I mean, I don't know if they could have helped me, but I didn't feel good about the situation. So the one doctor came over and said, this is what's going to happen. I said, okay. And he said, we're going to stop your heart. I said, okay. And he says, first, we're going to put you in under anesthesia. And then we're going to stop your heart and we're going to restart your heart. And I said, can you tell me the implications of doing this? And he says, well, most people don't come back. I'm like, oh, okay. So I had to really think about this for like a minute. And I said, so you're telling me that people can literally die from this procedure? And he said, they have, and some haven't. He said, but we have to let you know. And so I said, okay. And I said, what happens if I don't? And he goes, well, you could have a heart attack and die if we can't save you. So it's basically the same, but different, right? So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I'll be honest, I ended up surrendering. I felt a peace that came over me that kind of told me to surrender, just to let it go. So I just decided, man, there's nothing I can do at this point. They're going to do what they do. They gave me the anesthetic. I then don't remember anything after that, except for opening up and thinking I was awake. I thought I was done. I'm like, wow, whew, that wasn't bad at all. And I'm looking around and I'm in a black space that is not at all scary. It is warm and it is inviting, and it's something I've never seen before, and I'm not sure there's words for it. Now, I could go ahead and say, well, I've seen other NDEers describe it, but I'm going to use my own words because I can't describe it. I just know that I was in a place that was loving and it was warm, but it was pitch black. But I could see. So I thought that was odd. And just a short, cold note about myself. I am usually really riddled with anxiety. So something normally like this would cause me immense fear, panic, I didn't have any of it. And then out of nowhere appeared a man. And this man resembled Jesus. And I want to say so badly that it's Jesus. And people often ask me, well, why don't you say his name? Why don't you say his name? But what if it wasn't? And now it's like now I'm giving credit to somebody that's not Jesus, but he looked like the Jesus that I was taught to believe. Okay. He was glowing. He had a white like tunic on, a brown belt, and he had like a sash thing over his shoulder, like a brown. He had a brown long beard and brown long hair. And he, let me tell you, tall. He is tall, tall tall as the trees. No word of a lie. Like I came up to maybe his knee. Maybe. That's how tall he was. And he kept looking down at me, and I could not stop smiling and laughing and loving on this gentleman. I'll be honest, I was on his leg. I was just couldn't get close enough to him. That's how much I loved him. So it was also a relationship of a remembering relationship, I think. Because how would you be like that with someone you never knew? Right? So, but I was smiling ear to ear and I kept looking up at him and I felt at that moment that I was like a little girl. And he just kept looking down at me and he would chuckle and laugh like he just thought I was so funny. And I can't explain the love feeling. It makes my heart patter, honestly. Like it was so strong that I did not care about anybody else. No one. Not my children, not my mother, not my husband, no one. I didn't care about anybody but him. So I spent that time with him in that blackness, but it had after he showed up, it did have a glow to it. So he had a glow, so we made it brighter. He then and I didn't have a conversation with him per se, but I did have an understanding that I had a choice there, but there was no conversation. So then he threw up a wall of green and yellow balloons. And I thought, well, that's strange, like green and yellow balloons. And I just kept looking up and looking at the balloons, looking up, looking at the balloons. And then the last time I looked up, I got a feeling I had to choose which balloon I was going to choose, like which balloon for basically picking my fate is either I'm green or I'm yellow. So in my life now, looking back, I think the green meant go with him. And I think the yellow meant yield and to stay. I had chosen the yellow. So, but before choosing the yellow, he had shown me what I needed to do to get back in. So he was telling me you need to put your fist out like this and you need to pop the balloon. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So like this? And then I'd put my hand out. He'd be like, yeah, like that. And he'd be smiling at me. And I said, okay, here I go. So I looked up one last time and then I went to hit the yellow balloon because that balloon felt it resonated with me for some reason, that yellow balloon. But I got this close to the yellow balloon. I didn't really hit it and I woke up. So when I woke up, I sat straight up and then I went like I got my breath back. And then I was sitting and I was kind of looking around like, where did he go? Where is he? And I just was like looking and looking, and then I seen my husband sleeping over in a room on a table, or sorry, on a couch. And I thought, what was that? Right? So the doctor came, oh, you made it, he said to me. I said, yeah. And he's like, okay. I said, but someone was with me. There was a man with me. And he says, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyways, he then began to let me know that I have no heart condition. He has no idea why this happened and that I was fine. I was literally fine. Like he said, my heart had just gone out of sinus rhythm. And I said, really? That's it? So all these burns I had covering my chest, oh, I was so burnt. But he said, well, we had a little hard time bringing you back. And I said, oh, so that was from the defibrillator pads, I guess, bringing me back. But I was covered in these burns and they hurt so badly. But he told me that I was out for about 3 minutes. So in that 3 minutes felt like forever with that man. And so after that, and that happened to me 7 years ago. So it took me quite a while to grasp what had happened to me because I'm human, okay? So I got lost in the trauma of it all. And I felt very alone, but I also believe he did show up for me to let me know that man, Jesus, that I was not alone and that I was never going to be alone. And I think that's why he showed up for me. And because I'll tell you, I'm not a practicing Christian. I do have a background, a religious background. Um, I do believe, but I'm a spiritual being as far as I'm concerned. I do believe in a creator and a higher source. But I'll be on, I think that's another thing that stops me from saying Jesus is that I feel guilty, kind of, that I would put a name on something that I don't, I didn't really believe maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know if even that's the word for it. But all my family on my father's side are all ministers. All my aunts, all my uncles, they're all ministers. I've been going to church since I was little. So I did have a background a little bit, but I wasn't practicing. Um, but yeah, I feel like he showed up for me to show me. I also think that it was time for me to awaken fully as well. So, but it did take me quite a while, 7 years. But in that 7 years, what I have had after the NDE was even more profound because things start getting stronger. And I started to see videos like dreams. I have very lucid dreams. I started to get things in dreams. I started having an intense knowing, just looking at someone through a picture, who they were, what they were about. I could tell you everything about people. It was intense knowing. I also have another knowing, kind of a knowing where I know not to go somewhere. So if say I'm going to work and something happens and I lose my keys, I won't go. Like something holds me back. And so I'll sit and pause. And my words to myself is, well, we're going to arrive alive. So let's just leave it at that, So we're not going to rush because we're in a rush to go nowhere. And that's all okay. Um, but the visitors, I've had visitors, visions, I've had um, my lights, my electrical, I have like so many times. So when it really kicked in was about 2 years ago. So I think that they were showing me all these things in dreams, giving me cues, making me feel like I have all this knowing because I feel that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing for some reason. So then it started to kick it up a notch where now I'm hearing my name called. And now I'm hearing, like, I wake up, I'm an artist. So I'm a graphic artist. And then I also worked in the hospital. But since 2020, I have not no longer worked in the hospital. I then had another door open, and I decided I just decided to go with my art. So that's what I ended up doing. Um, I'd go into my closet, and the lights would now flicker, 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 flicker. I'd step out of the closet, they'd stop. I'd go back in the closet, they'd flicker, flicker, flicker. My husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "The lights are reacting to me." He says, "No, no, no." I said, "So it's just a coincidence that when I walk in the closet every single time, the lights are going crazy." He said, "Well, think what you want." So, anyways, he's not home. The lights are flickering. And then I start hearing a doorbell, like a ding dong, right? And it sounds like it's back here. But I have um, you know, those cameras on your door? That's like a video camera. So when you press it, it goes to your phone. So I'm like, "Oh, I hear the ding dong." So I go immediately run to my phone. And I'm like, "Oh, well, no one's there, right?" I can't tell you how many times this has happened. It's like, wake up. And they keep doing this ding dong thing. Sometimes I'd even run to the door and I'd be like, "Who's here?" Right? They must be looking up and be, "Oh my God, this one's really not getting it. She needs to seriously wake up." But anyhow, so that started happening. Then we had my husband had a friend that died. I started to feel him touching me. So he would come into our room. I'd be sleeping. He wasn't being weird, but what I think is he didn't understand what was going on. And all of a sudden he knew and he came to me, and then I could feel him putting like hands down my arm or touching my leg. And then I'd say, "Dan, I gotta go to sleep. Can you just stop?" Right? So these little things were happening all the time, like so many things leading me up to it. But the kicker was about February when my father died. And I told you the whole story of that. But it was after that that I was getting the downloads. And just to premise, I have been getting downloads my whole entire life. I get downloads of ideas and things to do, like things that I need to do in my life, and then I go and do it, and then I'm kind of succeed in what I'm doing. So it's like downloads of music sometimes, verses. I've had a lot of visitation from my ex, a lot. I think he was around me for a year. I could hear him. I could feel him walk up behind me. I seen him standing in my bedroom. Um, I would actually like to go back if I could to that, because that was actually very profound. I he had died, and I had gotten about 2 weeks after, and I was in my kitchen, and I was putting away dishes, and I had my arms up like this, and I heard footsteps, kind of like feet prints. That's kind of what I heard. And then I felt like someone merged with my body, like it came behind me. And it was all up my arms, all down my back, my head, everything. And it felt like complete unconditional love, complete vibration. It was a vibration that was so strong, and it was through my entire body. And I call it unconditional love. We did have a we did love very hard, but sometimes you're just not with the right person and it just doesn't work out, and you just know it, right? So, but he stayed with me for quite some time. After that, the vibrations, I broke into tears and I said, I know you're here. And then it just got stronger. He honed in, like I felt this vibration everywhere. Like it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And to confirm that same vibration, I ended up having a visitation dream from him. And he told me to meet him somewhere on my cell phone. So I went and met him. It was 7:21 on the cell phone. I went and met him in this place in the dream. He was wearing the shirt, the very first shirt I bought him. He was sitting in the place where we met. He was playing checkers and he was listening to AC/DC, and he looked about 30 years old. He was so young. And he got up and he said to me, "Oh my God, I've been waiting forever to see you." And I walked over to him, and our bodies went to each other, and his face hit the side of mine. And it was that vibration that went through my entire body again, where I was crying. And he said to me, "I've done some pretty shitty things to you." And I remember just saying, "It's okay. It's okay." Right? And then I asked him, like, "Where are you?" And he said, "You know where I am." I said, "Okay." And he goes, "I'm always here." I said, "Okay." Then he started to glide away from me, glide backwards, right? And I said, "Wait, I got to get the boys. They'll want to see you. They're going to be so excited." And he just looked and goes, "I can't." And then behind him, I could see two foggy human forms, maybe like kind of shaped like a human form, but I couldn't see them. He was clear. I could see him clearly, but behind him there was two foggy people. They were walking forward. I felt like they were pulling him with them, is what I felt. And then I said, "But," and he says, "Listen, I forgot to tell you." I said, "What?" And he goes, "Wait till you see our daughter." And I just stopped, like, what? And then the thing is I had had a miscarriage when we were together. And he told me that she was there with him. And I remember just bawling and thinking, "Oh my God, really?" And I remember saying, "Where is she?" He goes, "She's always with you." And then he went. And I felt that was something. And then every time I actually did have a dream of him, he would come with a girl, a woman that had similar color hair to mine right now. But it was really curly, and my hair is naturally curly. But I didn't clue in, but I do remember seeing this person, never talking, just being there with him. That is it. I would talk to him, but she would just be sitting there. And when I would think about it, I'd be thinking, is that my daughter? Like after the fact. But when I wake up from these, I'm in tears. Like, I'm not just in tears, I'm actually in tears in the dream, which in real life, I'm in tears. Like I wake up with tears strolling down my face. So anyway, I'm sorry to have to be so jumpy. But then I'll go back to February where my stepdad died. I was staying at my mom's. I was sleeping on a cot because mom didn't have the room at her house and there were so many people there. I was I was rolled over on my right side, and I heard something, and then I had pulled up the blankets over my shoulder. This almost makes me want to cry. I'm sorry. It's still so new. And I felt someone put their hand on sorry, my goodness. It's still so new. But I felt someone put their hand on my shoulder and rub it. And the thing is I was crying at the time because I felt like I couldn't grieve because I had to be strong for everybody else. So sorry. And so, my goodness, I'm so sorry. It's a little bit raw
Don't be
still.
sorry. Don't be sorry. It's you're human, and it's a huge
Yeah,
loss.
it really was. And so I would cry at nighttime. And so I wasn't upsetting anybody else. So I had been sleeping or going to sleep, pulled up the covers and was crying. And I felt that hand rub my shoulder. I also felt him standing behind me, and I knew it was him. And then he was giving me music. So he knew I'm very musical. And him and I would do a lot of singing at Christmases and stuff every time we got together. So we would we would sing together. And so he was dropping country music in my head, like all these songs that we used to sing, and I was getting downloads. And some of them, though, weren't for me. Some of them were for my mom. And I knew they weren't for me because I've never heard them before. So I said to my mom, I think that I have some music for you, right? And she's like, from who? I'm like, from Dad? She's like, okay. And I said, does this song mean anything to you? She's just break down and crying. That was one of their fit. Like this kept happening over and over again with the music. She said, oh my God, Melina, that is our song. How would you know that? I said, I don't know that. I didn't know that. He keeps dropping music to me. And so you know the difference, okay? You know the difference when it's for you and when it's not for you, because you can tell by the lyrics. And when I had to look up, so basically I would hear the music so loud in this ear. Everything's always on my right side. I would hear it so loud on my right that that it would be like you forgot to take your headphone out. Do you know what I mean? That's how loud it was. It's why does my camera keep doing that? But it's so loud that it's like you forgot to take your headphone out. And then that kept happening and happening. I kept telling my mom I could feel him there in the house. I actually didn't see him, but the energy was so strong in that house. Holy heck. I could feel it like what when he would just walk through my body. Like it just would feel like almost like an anxious energy. I'm not sure he knew what was going on for him. I know he wasn't a believer, so I felt a very anxious energy from him. And then, so I was using all sorts of crystals and stuff like that around mom's house and just to kind of make her feel better. But I gave her a dowsing rods or a dowsing crystal. And this dowsing crystal was going crazy for my mom. And she then started to kind of believe, holy crow. And then she had a profound experience in the shower where she felt like he went right through her. And she dropped to her knees and just started crying. And then she felt like something came over top of her and was trying to give her love. She said it was just vibrating. I said, yeah, that was him. Right. But then when I started, so I was there, and one morning I'd got up and got my tea and I went back into the room. I was sleeping in a room now. I was graduated from a cot to a room. Anyways, I was lying on the bed there and I just put my head back for a moment and I was awake and I got a flash of white light. So this is new for me. This is when it started, when my dad died. I started to get flashes of white light that comes like in the middle right here. And it's like a big flash of white, and then there's a vision in it. So this time it was a vision of my stepdad. And see, he's my dad, but he's my stepdad. He's not my biological father. So I've been with him since I was 10 years old. Um, oh, I didn't tell you that one. Darn it. But anyways, okay. So I seen him in the vision and he was looking at me. He was just ahead and he was just saying to me, thank you. And then it would go away. And that would make me very upset. I didn't tell my mom because she sometimes doesn't believe in these things. And a lot of times I try to tell my mom, but she isn't very open to it. But I really do try to help her, but it doesn't work very often. So since then, I had been getting white flashes of light in my mind's eye since then. And this year has started, so it's something completely different. And every time I'd get this flash of white light, it would be of myself. So it would be me looking at me. And I would get the weirdest feeling from it, like, hey, like I felt it was like saying, hey, get on with it. You need to do something. And that's the feeling that was eating me and in my intuition. So I was like, why am I seeing flashes of myself, right? Like this is just so strange. And then I started to have prophetic dreams where actually one, I'll stop. I started to have dreams of even seeing myself in a mirror. So it was all about me at this one point where it was showing me myself. And so it was really playing quite a game on my brain because I just couldn't figure it out. And I kept thinking, like, why can't you just be clear? Just say what you want instead of like showing me all these things that now it's like puzzle pieces trying to put together, right? So that was fine. Then so after that, I then had a dream where I was, well, I woke up in the dream saying, I know I'm in a dream. Like I knew I was there, but I was in a store with a woman who was trying to show me something on her phone. And I was backing up from her saying, I'm not quite ready. I don't want to have this conversation. And I kept walking backwards out of the store to turn around and then see a gentleman walking towards me in a tan suit with a white shirt, and he was holding flowers and he was holding a piece of paper, and he walked straight up to me and he looked me dead in the eye, and he was somber, loving, caring, all the things. And he, very handsome man. I wasn't afraid, but he handed me the roses, and they were yellow and they were red. And he then handed me the piece of paper and he said, here's your winning ticket. So I looked at him and I said, thank you. Like I didn't know what else. I walked kind of to my vehicle and I was getting in my vehicle. Then I woke up. Then I started having the same type of style dreams where I was yelling numbers out. Like one was 322, 322, 322. I was screaming it out. And my husband's like, what are you screaming at? Like, why? I said, I don't know. So I believe that it was all leading me to what I am doing now. And I think that it was giving me, like, winning doesn't mean winning as in money. Like it was a symbol, it was a metaphor for, I made a deal, I think, with someone or a contract, and I needed to start doing this contract. So all these different elements in my life were leading me to this. Do I know 100% that this is exactly what I was supposed to be doing? No. But do I feel it 100%? Yes. I think it started when I told my own story. So I think that was my agreeing to tell my own, when I told my own story, was saying, yes, I will now help anybody that wants to listen, open up, awaken, and become who I feel or they feel they need to be. And I think that that is my job. I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And since then, I haven't had really any dreams where they're telling me, like, get on with it, or weird dreams where, like, what am I supposed to be doing? Or, I have had nothing but, okay. So if you knew me, you'd know this right here is the worst thing for me. I'm a behind the scenes person, don't like getting my picture taken. I really don't like being in public, to be honest. I'm very much an introvert. And this is the weirdest thing they would have me do. So it's like I really had to come out of me to do something like this. My husband still can't believe it. And I'm just like, I just have a calling to it. I have a calling, a feeling that I'm doing the right thing and a knowing. And that's pretty much my story. So I did leave out one part, if you'd want me to go back. And it's when I first seen a spirit in its full form. And that was when my biological dad had died. So would you like me to go back and tell that?
You're welcome to. Sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that I missed that part out, but it's a pivotal moment actually, which don't know why I would have done that. But when I was 16, my father, my biological father, uh, was living in Vancouver. I was living in a place in BC, and my dad was murdered. But I, at this, so I woke up. I thought I woke up in a dream, and or sorry, I thought I woke up in real life, but I actually woke up in my dream. And where I was with my dad. And I was like, he couldn't see me, but I could see him. And he was standing in an argument with a man, and he was stabbed. And I watched it. Then I woke up in real life, and I was like, what the hell? I looked at the clock, and it was 5:41. And then I got a phone call and was told that I said, I don't tell me, I already know. And they're like, oh. And I put the phone down. Now I did end up finding my dad was actually killed, pronounced dead at 5:41. So I watched that. So 2 days or about a week after was the funeral. I went down for that. I was staying with my aunt. I was lying on her couch. I was lying this way, sleeping, and I got a feeling. I don't know how I got a feeling when I was sleeping, but I did. And I snapped my head this way, and I seen legs. So I seen legs standing on the other side of the coffee table. And then I knew it was my dad because my dad had legs that kind of went like this, and it's called rickets. And my dad had that. So I knew those were his legs. And then I looked up, and he was there. His whole entire body was there. He was standing there, and he looked like he was a little bit up, a little bit higher up, and kind of a little bit down looking at me and smiling like the biggest smile I've ever seen. And I thought, okay, I got up and I ran. I ran as fast as I could. I ran into the bathroom, shut the door, because let me tell you, I was just at his funeral. Okay. I knew he was there, and now he was here, and I didn't understand. And it really scared me. So I then reached out to grab the phone and to my aunt, and I called her. I said, I seen my dad in your house. My dad is here. And she goes, oh, you've got it, do you? I said, pardon? And she's like, you've got that. So apparently it comes from my nationality is African, Cherokee Indian, and Irish. And my grandmother is full Cherokee American Indian. And she is extremely spiritual, and she would see things all the time. Now, apparently, my whole dad side of the family is like that. So when she heard that I seen that, she was excited, like kind of like, oh, good, she's just like all of us. So yeah, I forgot to say that part, but it was really profound. So that's when I first seen a form, was 16, like that, like a person I knew.
Wow.
I've had quite the life.
Wow. Well, that is absolutely incredible. I just wanted to go back to the beginning. You mentioned you were wearing glasses to see UFOs. I watched that movie about the glasses, where you could see, or where you could see if you put the glasses on, you could see like what was going on behind the scenes. But was that like a specific kind of glasses, or what was that?
I asked my mom just literally 2 weeks ago. I said, "You were putting glasses on me to see a UFO?" And she said, "Yeah, the lights were really bright. They were just sunglasses."
Okay.
So I can physically remember standing beside my brother. Like it's a memory of me standing beside my brother and looking. But before talking to my mother and brother, did not know if this was something that I might have dreamt. Like I wasn't sure, so I never told the story. I never brought it up because I don't want to bring up something I can't confirm is true. Do you know what I mean? So, but I did have that vision. I didn't have the vision of the glasses, but I had the vision standing beside my brother looking at something with bright lights.
That's
And we
amazing.
lived on a farm. Hmm.
Yeah. When you see the spirit, the soul detaching from the body, how do you feel? Like, because it obviously means you're going to have a loss, but do you feel at that moment that you see it? Do you feel the connection? Because you're very connected to be able to see their aura and see their soul moving in and out.
I don't I feel I'll be honest, I feel like wow. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but I do feel kind of interested, but I don't feel any connection with the soul. Like I don't feel like they even know I see it sometimes. Like if I look back, I don't recall. I don't believe that they know that I could see it. They probably knew, the soul probably knew, but the person having it happen to them didn't know.
Yeah.
But my feeling, I'm in more of a like wow. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting look. It's
Yeah.
not something that like normally people see.
Well, I mean, if we go back to your friend, and again, sorry for your loss, and you've had quite a few, but if you'd be able to see her detaching already, they say often the soul leaves the body before the incident actually happens. So she'd already made that decision to go, and that was just
Hmm.
one method, maybe that was chosen. Um, okay.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you see it. It literally, I don't think you've even seen a movie about it. Like, like I was trying to think, but no, it's the soul coming out. The soul is detaching or something. It's the soul is detaching from the body, and I can see that. So I don't know if you want to call that a gift. It is apparently a gift, but I don't know what the gift is for.
I
Yeah.
think people have lost the ability to see. You haven't lost it. You've maybe honed it. You've
Hmm.
especially with the experiences that you've had. It's
Hmm.
allowed your third eye to open and see. Because I had a friend who could see auras, and she was actually describing to me about a psychic that she was fascinated watching the psychic woman because she had like tendrils coming out of her forehead while she was talking to people, and she was literally feeling their energy, and she just couldn't stop staring because she could see these tendrils. So
That's
people can
incredible.
see
I see
things.
auras as well around everything. Yeah, around everything.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah.
has
Well,
light.
yeah. Well, you would,
We're all
and I
light.
think that would explain why you feel when you with positive energy versus when you with negative energy. I mean, if you'd be an introvert for a reason. You don't want to be around people that are going to suck your energy dry. Just
I
about
think
the
that
party that
also,
you went to.
mhm.
Just
Pardon?
about the party. Do you think you were picking up on something that was going on, maybe in the house or wherever you were, that there was something energetically that maybe attached to you or something like that?
For what part?
Before you had your NDE, and your heart started racing, and
Mm.
you were
Mm.
feeling sick, like something, that need to maybe fall to the side. It's almost like something maybe even trying to push you or pull you or some kind of energy.
That's a very interesting way to look at that. I've never thought of it that way. I'll tell you, I believed that I needed to have that NDE for a number of reasons. I think one of the reasons was that I didn't like the people that I was around, to be honest. So the people that I was around, well, a few of them, really gave me a bad feeling. So that it was enough already. Like I didn't really even want to be there. Um, but the second thing is I believe the NDEs happen sometimes strategically. I believe we place them there.
Yeah.
Um, how do I say that? So I think we place them in our contract, maybe when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I don't know if that's exactly, but that's how, if that's true, but that's how I feel about it. I feel that that woke me up to another part because now I was like, oh my gosh, like Jesus, you know what I mean? Like it woke me up, like it completely opened every single thing up. So I don't feel something attached to me. To be honest, I don't think anything could attach to me. My vibration is too high, I think. To be honest, I think they'd have a hard time with me.
Without
Um,
a doubt. Without a doubt.
I think, and do I think that I've been energetically attacked? Yes. I think that I think that's where my anxiety ends up coming from, is sometimes you're getting energetically attacked. Um, that's my personal feeling.
Yeah.
Um, I think that when people have light, they have a lot of light, that it shines, and other entities that we don't see can attack you. Because when I would have anxiety or a panic attack, it comes out of nowhere. Nowhere, not thinking, not nothing. When I'm knee deep in meditation or knee deep in painting or art, you're not thinking anything negative. Your mind is totally meditating on what you're doing. And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, out of blue, you'd get like attack. I felt like it was an attack. I really did.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like it. And,
It
I mean, a
does.
panic attack is an attack too.
Right? Don't tell a doctor that though, because now they're like, "What? You feel spirits are attacking you?" Yeah, I actually did tell them like something feels like something is attacking me, and well, they almost locked me up because they just don't
Well,
believe you. Hmm.
if there's something they don't understand, then you're the crazy one.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And even if you tell them, sometimes they've got a little bit of open-mindedness to ask questions, but for the most part, don't talk about it. Quite sad, actually.
That's right. Someone told me, don't bring it up anymore because it's they're just then they just try to put you on medication and dim your light. That's what I feel they try to do, is dim your light.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's difficult when people around you don't believe, right? I mean, I mean, I run this podcast and my family think I'm a bit loopy because they don't know what I'm talking about. But hey, like I don't have visions and I don't see things. I hear things. Um, but how do you cope when people don't believe? Like, I mean, your husband, does he believe? Or is he just also think you're a bit different?
He believes now, especially after seeing what I did with my dad there. So yeah, he was shocked. He was actually quite a bit afraid. He
Yeah.
does believe 100%. But he's seen me, like one time I just said, watch this. And I went, like, put my hand out like this, like that at the cupboard door, and it closed. And he's like, what the hell? I just play with them all the time, right? But he's like, who did I marry? Right? Like, who are you really? And I said, well, I'm just me. And yes, it's very hard. I don't have a lot of friends. I have one friend I that believes in all of this same thing. I have found people like yourself, like me, to be feel it makes me feel so comfortable and comforted to be having conversations about the things I feel I don't have to hide anymore. Right. So I can talk to my children about it because they also have similar things to me. And they've been around me my whole life, so they know, and I've always been very open with them. So for me talking to my kids, they just think this is who mom is. Like she's literally a witch. Like that's what they think. But no, they believe in it 100%. But aside from that, I didn't have many people I could talk to that wouldn't think I was crazy.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it's very hard for me sometimes because you're very lonely. But then you
it is
learn to
lonely.
love being alone.
It is
Yeah,
lonely.
it's very lonely. It's hard. And not only that, but you don't feel like talking to anybody just about anything. You want to talk about what you feel and love and, all this fun stuff, not like, how's the weather and how was your breakfast? And, I don't care. Let's talk about aliens. I'd rather hear about that than anything, like I don't want to hear small talk. And I don't know if you're like that, but that's actually what's happened now. I feel I have no time for small talk
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm exactly the same. And what I feel is connected. Like I want to just describe if I see a cow in a field, how this cow is feeling. It's just like I feel everything. I feel the earth. I feel if the water's shining, and I can't share that with
Mm,
anybody. It's just like, okay,
right?
we'll talk about how was your breakfast, or how was work today, or it's, yeah,
And
I'm
it's
with you.
so
I can't.
mundane. I can't. It's really difficult. But yes, talking about the just nature in general or being in nature or talking to people that are like-minded is literally like music to my entire soul. And it feels like something that I have been missing out on my whole entire life. And I don't feel so different anymore. Like we're all, not that everybody, I do believe everybody has these abilities. It's just if you, like, sometimes I think can I say matrix just kind of, I'm not someone that you can convince. I don't believe this is real. Like, I'm like, all these things, like, we're living in a real place. I have all these thoughts, so you can't convince me, but some people, they're living in a place where they're working 9 to 5. That's all they do is work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep, work, eat, sleep. They do this loop. I don't do that. I don't work. So I literally am at home, and most of the time I am literally creating. So I'm literally doing art and creating all day, all night, usually. That's what you're going to find me doing, or meditating, or yoga, or really feeling, or talking with my animals, which I have a cat and a dog, which I like to try to have them speak to me. I'm doing things like that where I couldn't do that with any other friend. Actually, I don't think I could do that with one friend. And I'm not into drinking, partying, any type of drugs. I don't drink. I drink nothing but water and tea, and that is it. And I eat a very, very light diet. So yeah, it's a lonely life, but it's okay.
Well, you've got your friends from the other side, and
I
you
do
and you
so.
so and you're so connected. Yeah, and I understand it's lonely when you want to speak to somebody about an experience that you've had, right?
That's right.
But
That's when
there
it's
are a
lonely.
lot of people that are waking up, and I think they need to hear that. We are the people that are trying to wake the people up. you know. And so if they were already awake, you wouldn't have anyone to wake up. So you wouldn't have a purpose right now.
Yeah, I do feel I'm finally at my fifth. I'm 52 now. I'm like, why did it wait till I was like 52? I could have done way more in my 20s and 30s and 40s. I have no energy now. It's hard. It's like you
No,
get out
because
of
the
bed,
time
it's like my
wasn't right.
back. It wasn't, and it's all timing, and it's not your time. It's not on your timing. It's sources, the universe. It's when they see and know you're ready. And that's why I felt such a pull towards my podcast, because I am a person that spent, seriously, eat, sleep, breathe, NDE podcast, spiritual. I mean, everything all day. Like everyone thought I was nuts just doing that, right? They thought that was so negative for my mind and morbid. And I thought, this is what I'm interested in. This is who I am, you know? But,
I find
and
that
then I
fascinating.
need to do this. Yeah, so do I. I can't stop. And the more and more, I just started feeling the pull. I
Yeah.
started to feel the pull and I thought, oh, I'm too shy and I don't think I can do this. And before I do go on here or do my own, I do like a prayer and saging. And then I do like a white light surrounding me. Like I do a whole little ritual before I go on. You know, I've never been one for public speaking. So I finally told my story, and I don't have a lot of followers or anything, but I got a few comments, and it validated everything for me. I said, I knew I was doing the right thing. That was one of the things. I'm doing the right thing. I am me, only me. This is who I truly am. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be, but I do want to wake people up and help people on their journey. I do want that so badly. And I think that's why I was given certain gifts because then it shows maybe a confirmation to people. I don't know.
It does, because there's a lot of people that have got abilities, but they've been told it's evil, it's sinning, and what do you do with them? So they've shut them down, but they've actually lost that, again, the connection to source, and yeah, and so they're miserable. I think if people give themselves permission to be free and to think outside of the matrix and to ask questions, their lives will change hugely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean, I don't think we're here to pay just taxes. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on. We're here to
No,
work, sleep, eat,
I
pay taxes, be poor. Like this is not what we're supposed to have in this life. I truly believe that. The will needs to come off. People need to wake up to who they truly, truly are. And if they only knew how special they were. And we are so loved. We are so loved. We are so loved. And we need to, I think I forgot that feeling. I think I forgot, but every day I can tell you honestly, since I have, like, I feel it before, but it's been really strong lately. Since I have been doing this podcast, I can't get over the feeling of the vibes I get, even from you. I'm getting these vibes. I get these vibes from people, and I'll be vibing all day long. And it's like the best feeling. And it's like, you know what? This is how we're supposed to be feeling every day. We're not supposed to be stuck in worry and stuck in stress mode, working like dogs and, having a hard time feeding our families. And it breaks my heart. And believe me, I was there. I was a single mother. So I raised those two boys by myself. I know how hard it is. And I'll tell you, there was something bigger than me helping me get through that part of my life. So,
Yeah. And I think part of that is your growth, to be able to speak out, because if you can do all of that yourself, I mean, it's MJ, where can people
yes.
get hold of you?
They connect with me on Facebook. I have my Facebook, The Returned Ones. I have my YouTube channel, which is at The Returned Ones on YouTube. I'm on TikTok as well. Um, at The Returned Ones or The Returned Podcast. So anything under The Returned Ones, Returned Podcast, you can find me. And then you can also reach me via Gmail, which is The Returned Ones at gmail.com.
I'll post all your links below. Before we go, do you
Sure.
have a message for our viewers?
My message would be to do your inner work, to do your inner shadow work, to try to get yourself to a place, because I truly believe, to a good place, I should say. I truly believe that becoming yourself, your true authentic self, is the way we get home. And I feel that when you start to awaken and see who you truly are, you're unstoppable in anything that you do. So I truly hope that humanity and everybody that's watching can get to that, can get their soul, their heart, and everything aligned. And I know it's hard, but I really hope that they can do that and catapult themselves forward and start living in a very high bright vibration and be loving and kind to each other, please. One act of kindness.